Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video. Now, I've been working on some kind of networking for my own network basically. So what I wanted to do was create kind of like a secure guest network that won't, leak my IP address and give them some extra benefits like ad blocking and stuff like that, so that they won't be able to access my own network too. So like, for example, I have like a bunch of servers on my network. Well, not a bunch, just one. And I don't want, like anybody but myself having access to it. So that is why I'm gonna show you how I did it with the Raspberry Pi. So it's not expensive at all. Anyone can do it, provided you can find it. Unfortunately, I don't have like, one of the latest Raspberry Pis. I'm using a Pi 2B, which is rather old, so this network is not the fastest, but it's enough to stream YouTube videos and stuff like that, which is all right. I wrote up a guide here. If you don't want to watch a video, it's on my GitHub here. I'll have a link to this in the description. And so in this video, I'll kind of explain what all this is. I'll also show you a demo. So for example, of me connecting just to like this network only. And then if I connect wirelessly to this network, I'll show you the difference between the two networks. In particular, I'll show you like the second I connect to this, my IP will be different, and I will also have extra ad blocking by default, so I don't have to run any extra software or anything. You just get that for free basically the second you connect, which is really cool. That's handy for crappy devices like by Apple, where you can't do anything with them. So you can't do like system level ad blocking like on Android, for example. So it'll be handy for those. So the second an iPhone, for example, would connect, you already not get as much ads. Of course, there's still a bunch of ads that leak through, but we do what we can. I'll just explain how this is set up. So I have a switch here in my room here, and I have an Ethernet cable going out to the ISP provided router, and then I have another cable here going out to my PC and so on. And then finally the last cable going out is going out to the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi is accessible like from my computer with this IP here. And on the Raspberry Pi itself, I am running OpenVPN to connect to the VPN server, so that my public IP does not get leaked by people using this network. And I'm also using Pi-Hole for the actual ad blocking. And Pi-Hole also can be configured to use DNS and DHCP. So what this means is when this laptop connects to the new network, the Raspberry Pi will tell the laptop which IP to use, and it will tell the laptop which DNS to use. So in this case, it will actually use the Raspberry Pi's DNS, and so this is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi on this network basically, so on the wireless network. So how this works is, if you are connected wirelessly to the Pi, like for example from this computer here, you can access the Pi via this IP. However, if you're connected to this network, so to this Ethernet kind of network, you would need to access the Raspberry Pi from this IP here. So that's how that works. And so this network forwards packets through here, so like through to the internet, because like this is only connected to the Raspberry Pi, so it needs to send the packets like from here, like over here, and then through here. And on its way, it will, you know, send it through OpenVPN as well. Like, so that's the really cool thing about this. So as a demonstration, I'll do a demo of the thing right now. So here I have Chrome, just kind of default installation of Chrome. I have no plugins or anything. So this would be kind of like, you know, how Chrome would look like on your phone, for example, or whatever. So this website here, I'll leave a link to it. This link is also in this guide. So yeah, here it's like at the very bottom to test if everything is working. So yeah, this just tests how many blocked kind of ad domains your kind of browser does. So right now, as you can see, so if I refresh this page, it will do the test. And as you can see, we only blocked 10%. So a lot of ads are, you know, being shown this because Chrome doesn't like doesn't do any ad blocking by default. So that's what that is. Okay, so next thing is we'll also test for the IP address. Yeah, so I scrolled a little bit down so you guys don't actually see my real public address, but you can see here the country, and I am in Ireland. And so when the VPN is working and we connect to the other network, you will see that this country will be something else. It'll be United Kingdom, since we'll be connecting to a VPN in London. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to disconnect. So let me zoom in here. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to disconnect from my Ethernet cable. So I'm just going to pull that out. So you can see there, my Ethernet cable is pulled out, and I'm going to connect to the Wi-Fi network that's from the Raspberry Pi, and it is this one. You can set whatever name you want. I'm not going to connect automatically because like I won't be using it for myself basically. So I'm just going to put in this key here, and you can put in whatever key you want during the configuration. And there we go, we are connected. And if we check the connection information, and as you can see here, we get an IP address of 69.69.69.220, and our DNS server is 69.69.69.1. So this is exactly how we have it here, and well, the laptop would be a little bit different, 220. I just put in 121 because the DHCP allocates from 120 to 250, but it just gives you, a random IP address. All right, so now that we're connected to this network, let's refresh this page and let's see how many ads we are blocking now. And there you go, 83% of ads is blocked. And I'm gonna move this to the other monitor here and refresh this. What is my IP page? Like I said, the VPN is located in London, in England. And so yeah, that's all good. So as you can see, the second I connected to this network that the Pi is broadcasting, I immediately have ad blocking, which is really good. And I immediately have like my connection is routed through the VPN automatically. I did not need to open an app to connect to the VPN or whatever. I'm already routed through it, which is really nice. This way, there won't be any like public IP leaks when someone connects to your network, Now, obviously the network is password protected, but you know, you know yourself, like you have people who are, you know, not tech savvy, they don't care about privacy and whatnot. So, and they download, you know, whatever they like. So you can't just not let those people use the internet, you know. So this is the best way of doing it this way. Now, obviously, you would want the better way would be to educate them, but you know, like if they don't really care, then why should you? So this is the best way of doing it, and it's also, you know, interesting to get this working. It's a good learning experience anyway, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, I'll close out of that. I'll close out of this as well. So what I'll do now is, now that I showed you that it actually works properly, I'm going to connect back to the Ethernet. So I'm just going to turn off the Wi-Fi. Oh Jesus! And stick the Ethernet cable back in. All right, there we go. So now we're back in action. I'll SSH into my Raspberry Pi. There we go. And so one more thing is you can actually access the Raspberry Pi like from here, the Pi-Hole. So if I do HTTP 10.0.0.12, and yeah, it's port 80, so there we go. If we go into admin, I'll quickly log in here. So as you can see here, this is the Pi-Hole, so you can access it from both networks. Okay, I probably shouldn't have... So as I was saying, this Pi-Hole installation or dashboard can actually be accessed from this network and from this network. So if I were to connect back to the Wi-Fi, I could type in 69.69.69.1 and I'll be able to load up this page. But since I'm on this network now, I'll need to use 10.10 or 10 blah 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 12. Oh yeah, and also clients connected to this network, they can't communicate with stuff on this network. So if you have like a computer plugged in here, you can't send, you know, packets from here to this computer. Yeah, so that's also pretty good. That way, if you have somebody connected to your network and they know what they're doing, they won't be able to do anything to your actual own network. So yeah, that's really cool. I'll just minimize this. So yeah, in the Pi-Hole itself, I didn't really do much. This is like the default installation. The only thing I did was I added extra lists here. So by default, it uses this one like as built in, which is okay, but with this one alone on that website there, you would only get like, I think it was like 40% of ads blocked, but I added most of these here and you get more ads blocked. So where I got these from was the, you can see here, Firebug website. I think it's this one. Yeah, there it is. So you'll see all the stuff here. So I recommend you add like 1 or 2 from each category. So you can see here, I like you know, commented them which category I took it from. So I took 1 from suspicious lists, took 2 from advertising, 2 from tracking, and then 3 from malware, since there is like kind of different lists. There's malware, and then there's phishing, and then there's this Prigend crypto thingy. So I just took like the kind of different categories. And so I recommend taking the ones that are green. You don't need to add every single one, because if you have a slow Pi like me, it'll take, you know, a while to look up in the list. So if you have like, you know, I don't know, like 10 million domains that are meant to be blocked, it'll take the Pi a while to search, you know, through that 10 million list. So unless you have a fast Pi, then don't add in too many. So yeah, take those from here. Yeah, so that's basically it in terms of customizations that I done with the Pi-Hole, and it works like, you know, pretty good. So let us begin the guide. So I kind of went over the equipment that I used. I'll just go over it again. So you'll need a Raspberry Pi running the Raspbian desktop. So the latest one is using the Bullseye. It's based on Debian, so kind of follows the name. Next thing you'll need is a Wi-Fi card that supports AP mode. What this means is the Wi-Fi card is able to broadcast its own hotspot, basically its own kind of wireless network. So a good few cards don't support this feature. I don't know why, but they just don't. What I recommend is so this feature kind of is well, I wouldn't say mostly, but it is used by pen testers. So they would use it, you know, for Evil Twin, so like man in the middle attacks and stuff like that. So the actual easiest way to find a card that supports AP mode is by like googling, say, Wi-Fi cards for Kali Linux, and you'll get like you'll get a good list of cards here. So for example, just click literally any link and you'll get a list of Wi-Fi cards. The one I am using right now is this AW whatever. So let's see if this one is here. And yeah, there it is. It's the fourth fourth best one. So yeah, just it's mostly alpha cards. So if you noticed, yeah. So this one is best in its price range. Basically, I have the cheapest one available. Yeah, I bought this like, oh geez, I don't know, like 10 years ago now, I'd say. Maybe even more. It was like 20 bucks back then. I don't know how much it is now. Let's say ebay.com. Let's see, how much is it now? Okay, so it's literally the same price as when I bought it. Wow, that's actually amazing. So the price of this fucking thing is more stable than the euro right now, which is insane. All right, whatever. So get yourself one of these. And then Ethernet cable and Ethernet network. So yeah, I'm just talking about like this section here. And then OpenVPN config files. So with most VPN providers, you don't need to download their own app. You can use configuration files for OpenVPN. And so to connect to that, you just need to provide your username and password. In my case, I'm using IPVanish. It's, you know, it's fairly cheap, and it's kind of like one of the most best performing ones. Not so much for OpenVPN, but for WireGuard. But I couldn't be bothered setting up WireGuard on the Pi. I'm not even sure the kernel supports it, because this is quite an old Pi, but OpenVPN is just kind of more straightforward to set up, since you just download the software and you're good to go, basically. All right, so let's begin the guide. So what you'll need is, you'll need to set up your IP addresses for the Ethernet port and the actual Wi-Fi card itself. So let's see, we're connected here. So if you do if config you'll see all of your devices here. On the more modern Pi, I'm pretty sure you can do this. Yeah, that's actually a little bit easier to see. Yeah, but this one shows like, you know, your IP address and all that kind of good stuff. So that is not bad. But anyway, make sure you plug in your USB Wi-Fi card. It might not show up here, so restart the Raspberry Pi and then it should show up. In your case, it might be ETH0. If that is it, then, you know, just use that. But in my case, it shows like the kind of the MAC address. So you see the MAC address here. It like adds it on to the Wi-Fi card, and the same thing with the Ethernet. So you see B8 blah 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 blah, and it just adds it on. So yeah, this is so that there's no ambiguous cards basically. So if you plug in a second adapter, there won't be any confusion what it is basically. So Ethernet would usually start with E, and then Wi-Fi cards usually start with W. So that's kind of how you tell the two apart. So yeah, to configure the IPs, you can edit. You can do vim etc DHCP cd.conf. So if you open that up, ignore everything from the top except so yeah, all right, I see I have some duplicate stuff. All right, just ignore this bit. I am not sure why that's here, but whatever. We'll just ignore that. So anyway, set up your, you can add this like at the very bottom. I just have some stuff here. So set up your Ethernet just like how you normally would. So you would add like, you know, the routers and stuff like that. Domain name, whatever you want for this, doesn't matter. Now for the Wi-Fi, it'll be kind of different since we're using the Wi-Fi as kind of the new network. So in this case, just give it the IP address that you want. In this case, I went with 69.69.69 because it's a funny number, and I did no hoop. So just add that line in only for this one. And then save that file. If you're using Vim, you can press I to insert, and then you can type away. And when you're finished, press escape. So you'll see like so if I press I, you'll see the insert here. If I press escape, it's gone. So that means you're in normal mode. And then what you want to do is you want to type :WQ and then press enter. And so that will save the file. Or you can use Nano, which you can do Control-O and Control-W instead of Vim. I just find Vim a little bit easier to use. Yeah, so next thing, after setting those IPs, you would want to reboot the Pi and make sure that the IPs, you know, are okay. And also when you're setting the IPs for this, make sure, you know, it's the same, like on the same network. So for example, if your like computer or something is 10.0.0.2, for example, make sure that this is, you know, 10.0.0 dot something else. Don't give it like the same IP as your computer, and don't give it, you know, something that isn't. So only change the last number, basically, is what I'm saying. All right, so next, what we can do is we can install OpenVPN. So just run this, copy and paste this command. This will update your packages and then install OpenVPN. Now, next, what you want to do is you want to save your OpenVPN configs that you want into this folder here. So if I just go into here, you can see that I have just the cert, and I also have, well, I did have this client conf. Now, what is client conf? Now, client conf is the OVPN file, but I just changed the extension to .conf. So if we cat this file, you'll see that it should look exactly, well, not exactly, but it should look, it should be the same thing as your .ovpn file. So you get this file from your VPN provider. So in my case, as you can see here, it's IP vanish, and I'm using the London A14 server. This section here, if you have a cert file, I know that some IP or some OpenVPN config files, they don't, but if you do, make sure you set it to an existing location. So this is the existing location on this PC. So if I copy this, and then if I cat, well, I won't actually cat it, or share I will, why not? It's just a long file with the certificate. So make sure this actually exists, you know, so edit this location. Okay, so next thing, in your file, you will probably only have this. What you want to do is you want to add pass at the end. So you'll see here, in this section here in part 3, I added the pass. All right. So now in this folder as well, you'll have a pass file. Now what this is it's your username and password. So I'm not going to show you this, but basically it's, so if I do vim pass2, it would basically be like your username. So in my case, it'll be email followed by password, and then just save that. And then you can do chmod 400. So this is so that only root user can see this file. And then here, as you can see, I rename the OVPN file to the config file. And then we can enable the OVPN service. And before we reboot, we want to edit this file. So if I show you what that looks like. So this looks like this. It should be fairly small. So what you want to do is head down until you find this. And in your case, there'll be a hashtag in front of it. So what you want to do is just delete the hashtag. So it's just like this. And then save that. And then reboot your Raspberry Pi. So just do sudo reboot. And then once you are rebooted, make sure that the Raspberry Pi has the VPN IP address instead of your own public address. Now the easiest way to do that is if you curl ifconfig.me. This will display an IP address, and you can do and so you can check if that IP address is different from the one on your computer. provided on your computer, you aren't using VPN. So yeah, once that's done, we can actually set up the access point now. So you will have a ton0 device. So if I do IP link show, as you can see, I have a ton0. This is the VPN device basically. So we'll be using IP tables. So install it. And then here we will be basically kind of like port forwarding. We'll be port forwarding the stuff from the tunnel to the Wi-Fi card. So in this case, I have the Wi-Fi card as WX01111, but you would use whatever output is here. So don't just copy and paste this command directly. You need to change this section and just run these commands like one by one, and then install this here. So just copy and paste this, and then during the installation it will ask you if you want to save the IP table rules. You just press yes on both prompts. So it'll ask you IPv4 and IPv6, so just press yes by hitting enter. And then we'll be using the host APD. This will actually use the Wi-Fi card as a network, so as well as an access point in this case, and as a wireless network. And so install that software and then unmask it and enable it. So enable just means this will run at startup. And then to provide DNS and DHCP, so when the laptop connects, you would want it to get an IP automatically. You would install DNS mask, and then IP forwarding, so edit this file or create it or whatever if you don't already have it, and then just put this in and save it. And then run this command here to masquerade the tunnel, and then edit etc DNS mask conf. So this will set up so you should already have this, and then just add this at the end. This sets up the DHCP range. So the Raspberry Pi will only allocate IP addresses from 120 up to 255, or no, up to 250. Yeah, so this is like the starting address, and they'll allocate up to 250, and then it'll allocate it up to for 24 hours. And then just copy all these, and then make sure your IP here is the same as whatever you set it before. And now what you want to do is edit host APD configuration file, and just copy this like directly. It should be pretty much the same. You can change your country if you want. Make sure your interface is the wireless interface here. And then channel, you can choose which channel you like. I just chose 7 because why not? And then the rest, SSID, this will be the network name that shows up. So you can choose whatever you want. And then the password will be whatever password you want. So pick a good, secure password. So now you can reboot your Raspberry Pi. And if you wait a while, you should see the access point show up. So if you connect to it, make sure that you get an IP address, and make sure you can access the web, and also check your public IP is the VPN server IP. So just Google like what is my IP address, and it will show you. So it should be different. You can probably tell from the country if you pick, if you're living in the Bahamas or whatever, and you pick a VPN server in Iceland, you should see that the country is in Iceland. So that's an easy way to tell. So once that's done, we can set up the Pi-Hole to enable extra ad blocking capabilities for free to all the clients who connect. So what we'll do is we want to edit this DNS mask file again, and you can delete all of these, or you can just comment them out with the hashtag at the start. This is because the Pi-Hole has this functionality like built in, so that is why we're doing this. we're commenting this out. So yeah, after that's done, you want to reboot the Pi to apply these new settings, well, to remove these settings basically. And then what you can do is you can install Pi-Hole. So just simply run this command here. It'll ask you for a root password, so just put that in, put your password in. And then during the installation, what you want to do is you want to choose this network. And then it will ask you what IP address do you want to choose. It will autofill the IP address for the tunnel. So in my case, if I do ifconfig, the tunnel has an IP address of this, so you'll probably see this IP address. Select the option to set a custom IP address and set the IP address of your Wi-Fi card. So as you can see here, make sure you set it that with the /24 after it. And for the second option, just set it to this. All right, now you can go through the rest of the installation as normal. It'll ask you some questions about enabling lists, enabling logging, enabling whatever. You can just enable all those if you like, or if you don't want to log, you can just select no, so it doesn't really matter. It'll also ask you if you want to install the web UI. So the web UI is the thing that I showed in the demo, where you can like easily add custom lists and whatnot. I recommend you install it so you can see the statistics, you can check if it's working and stuff like that. And so after the installer exits, it will show you the web UI password. You can save that password if you want, but I recommend you change it by running Pi-Hole AP. Then it'll just ask you to put in the password. It won't ask you like to confirm or anything. And so by default, DHCP with the Pi-Hole is not enabled. And this is because like Pi-Hole only provides the DNS by default. So if you were to use Pi-Hole in a normal installation, you would change the DNS server on your router to point to the Raspberry Pi IP. But in this case, since we're using the Raspberry Pi as the router itself, we need to tell Pi-Hole to enable DHCP. And so in this case, you can just copy this command as is. And the first option is from which IP do you want DHCP to start. Now I like to start the DHCP from like above address 100, because what I like to do is I like to set static IP addresses below 100, and then everything after that is like, you know, dynamic. So that way it won't interfere, like your kind of DHCP addresses won't interfere with your static ones, for example. So that's how I like to do it. Considering this is a what you call kind of like public-ish network, what you can do is you can set this to 69, 69, 69, and then 2. You want to set it to 2 because the Raspberry Pi itself is 1. So that's literally the only reason. And then I recommend you go up to 250, since, you know, that's enough. You can go up to 254. 255 is broadcast or whatever, so but I just recommend doing 250 so there's no kind of weird stuff going on. And then this is just like when this is the DNS or whatever that you would use. So just set this to this IP here. And then 24 means 24 hours. So after 24 hours, the IP that's given can be given to another client. So when a client connects, he basically kind of rents an IP address for a day. And after a day, if he doesn't come back, that same IP address can be given to another client. So that's how that works. And yeah, so now after all that's done, you can reboot the Raspberry Pi and everything should be good. So I recommend you go to this URL that we used during the demo and check if you have everything okay. And then also check if the VPN is working after all this. And so yeah, that's really it. So here's kind of the references I used. Setting up a VPN hotspot, this was a huge help. Most of this guide is actually, you see the same rules, you see the same stuff kind of here. So basically just kind of followed this guide. And then for the auto starting the VPN, I found a nice way doing it here with systemd that I went through. So as you can see here, and whatever. And then lastly, setting up the Pi-Hole. Yeah, so you can look through this. It shows you, like, you know, with pictures of everything, how it's done. So this just for a normal installation, you know, where R1 is kind of messed up. This R1's like quite complicated, whereas here it's, you know, the intended way to use what you call a Pi-Hole. So yeah, that's how how I figured all this out. There was a few more kind of links that I kind of used, but they were like either old or whatever. Basically it wasn't, you know, if I put them in here, it would confuse you, is what I'm trying to say. So that's why there's only 3. But, you know, obviously there was a lot more research involved than just 3 links. But yeah, so that's kind of a cool thing that you can do, I suppose. So yeah, thanks for watching and bye bye.